Today you see a skirt that's super easy to sew, super easy to fit, super comfortable and super beautiful. Tick, 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 tick. Stay tuned. I'm very excited to share this stripy masterpiece. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing. It looks like I'm in a forest, but no, I'm just around my neighborhood. Love this for us. This time I'm here to share a gorgeous skirt I made just a couple of hours ago. And in the introduction, I said it was a masterpiece. I'm calling it a masterpiece. I'm calling it a masterpiece because I view the projects I make as a type of art. Traditional artwork, I am terrible at. I draw stick people, but I consider what I do an art form because I take a lot of thought into what I do in all the aspects of the project, from choosing the fabric to how I'm going to cut it, how it's going to look, different things I'm going to add to the pattern sometimes when the feature isn't there, and it's just the whole thing for me. So I'm calling it a masterpiece because it's just so gorgeous. What I'm talking about is the Free Spirit skirt from Pattern Emporium. This is a pattern that has been around for quite a while, and if you get it now, in the next day, you can get it for half off. So Kate from Pattern Emporium, just in the last week or two, has started something new where she's choosing a pattern every Friday to put on sale, but with an asterisk. This is Friday in Australia. So 6 a.m. Friday Australian Eastern Standard Time for us who live in this area of the world. Turns out to be a Thursday afternoon-ish. For me it's around 4 to 5 p.m. For you it might be like 2 p.m. depending on where you are. So this is a Thursday afternoon sale for me. Maybe for you, if you're in Australia, it's on a Friday, and it's a pattern you can get for one day for 50% off. So it turns out to be an amazing price. In the comment section right at the top, I'm going to pin my affiliate link so you can have really easy access to it. I'm also going to leave the link in the description box of the video. Remember, this sale only lasts for one day and it's all in Australian timing. So grab it before the sale is over because I think 50% off is an amazing deal to grab a really nice pattern. The Free Spirit skirt is a super easy to fit skirt. I think it would be a perfect garment that you can sew as a gift and not worry too much about if it's going to fit the person. If you might know what their hip size is, it's pull up, it's got an elasticated waist, and there's many ways that you can do this waistband in the tutorial. You can have it covered, you can have it top stitched, you can even do a paper bag waistband, and you can choose whether you want to do a 1-inch elastic or 1.5-inch elastic. Where you wear your skirt is always very personal. I've seen people wear these types of skirts really low, like at the high hip, or you might want to wear it at your natural waist. That's up to you. Skirt has side panels, and these side panels sort of involve the side parts of the skirt, and then you have a front and a back. So you're basically going to be doing 4 long seams. It's very easy to put together. And in the front on those seams, if you want to, you can add inseam pockets as an option. The pattern pieces are there. The tutorial is there. Am I adding them? Of course not. But you can if you want to. And remember, I have very good tutorials on the channel on inseam pockets. I'll leave it linked, and this is how the thumbnail looks, so you can recognize it when you go to the link. It shows you how to do it beautifully without snipping into things. I love my technique. I just don't love the pockets in my clothing, but there you go. It's long. You can decide if you want to do it midi length or maxi length, and for each of these lengths there's a short, a regular and a tall length. So they've considered our heights there. I'm doing the tall version, which is the longest version. If you want to do a high-low version, the front, you also see a cut line where it goes shorter at the center front, and then it curves down back to the side seam being long. I'm doing mine all the same length, the longest length, full length. Now on the front, if you want to, you can cut that on the fold, the same as the back. That would be the easiest version. Or if you want to, there is seam allowance on that pattern piece, and you can have a seam on the center front, and down further below you can add that slit that would show some leg. So those are options for you. If you don't want that center front seam or that slit, just fold that away and just cut it on the fold. It's up to you. Now I'm adding a hack, and you would have already seen it in the previous episode where I decided to add a real functioning button placket. Something I really wanted to do because I just wanted to. It looks pretty. It helps me regulate how much air I want in my skirt, how much leg I want to show depending on the occasion. And what are the reasons? It's just pretty. This is a skirt designed for woven fabrics. I think the lighter weight fabrics are going to work the best. Flowy fabrics are even going to be better. So you know what my options usually are. 100% rayon, the plain weave is going to be nice. Just be careful if it's a light tone. It might be sheer. But in the pattern, it also describes how you can add lining if you want to. You use the same pattern pieces as your skirt, just cut them a little shorter, and then you would have 2 layers that you just based around the waistline on the top, and then you add your waistband, and then you can have a lined skirt. I would do that if I was using rayon in a very light beige or white, or just a light tone where you could see your legs, because it's not cool to show your undies and your leg. Then a little heavier would be rayon linen blends. Rayon 87%, linen 13%, along those lines, are still really flowy and drapey and gorgeous. I'm using a rayon cotton blend. It's amazing. It's got stripes. It's medium weight, I would say, but still very drapey, and it's not transparent at all. 100% linen you could use, would be a little bit more expensive, of course, because you do use quite a bit of yardage, so linen tends to be a little bit more expensive. You could use cotton lawn, you could use cotton voile. In that case, I would line it 100%. Another fabric you could use that I usually say stay away from this because it's terrible, it stretches out and deforms and stuff. Because this is a pull-on style, maybe you could use crinkle rayon, because the waistband with the elastic inside would prevent that from stretching out. It would still be snug against your waist. And then if the skirt sort of grows a little bit at the bottom, it would be okay. One fabric I also would not want to use for this one is a more structured linen rayon blend that I use for blazers and pants. 55% linen, 45% rayon. I think that would be too stiff and too voluminous for this type of style. It would just poof out a lot. So I'm just telling you what my thoughts are. My options here is, of course, you're welcome to experiment and try. Quilting cotton also would be very, very structured and not fall nicely with this type of garment. Other notions, 1-inch elastic or 1.5-inch elastic. You could choose how wide you want that waistband to be. On the pattern piece, you have the different cut lines for that, so that is your choice. Now for the sizing, this is an older pattern. It goes to 22 Australian, so it doesn't have the full size range that the newer patterns have. It goes up to a 51-inch hip, but consider that there's about 12 to 13 inches of ease at the hip, you know, drafted into the pattern. So maybe if your hips were up to 54 inches, I think you could still get away with making size 22 here. When you have your waistband extended without the elastic inside, you have about 8 inches of ease at the waist, and so at the hips is around 12. So in this case, if you wanted to size down one size, just make sure that the waistband size is going to fit over your hips, because you have to pull it up. Otherwise, one sneaky way to get into your skirt, if you wanted a smaller waist area, is to put it on over your head, because usually our bust is a little smaller than our hips. So that is one sneaky way where you could get into the skirt without having that much bulk on the waist and the hips if you wanted to size down one size. I did size down one size. I'm a size 16 at the moment. Pattern Emporium, I made a size 14, and I can pull it up over my hips just perfect. So have a think about that. I'm very happy I sized down one size. Some people like a lot of ease, some people like a little less. I'm usually the type that likes a little less. I chose the toe length at the bottom, just the longest length on the skirt, and that was perfect for me. You have finished lengths there in the charts, so it's easy to know what lengths these skirts have, so you don't have to guess or measure yourself. I made no pattern adjustments, changes, nothing like that. It was very, very straightforward. For sewing, I'm going to show you quite a bit. I'm not going to include the waistband. I have a full video showing you how to do waistbands, elasticized waistbands in many, many ways. This is how the thumbnail looks. When you go to that video, the first technique you see on that video is the way I sewed my waistband. I'm also not showing you how I did the button placket, the pattern changes I did to get the button placket here. Remember that content was in the previous episode you would have seen just recently, so go ahead and look at that, and you can add button plackets to whatever you want. I decided to add it to the free spirit skirt this time. Although I am showing you how to sew it and how to construct the skirt, so let's see. The pattern pieces for the free spirit skirt are quite big, so I hope you can see them here on my table. Here is my front piece. I have decided to do a hack, and I'm doing an extra button placket here. It's going to be functional. That means I added an extension, extra fabric there. I posted how to do that on a separate video, separate technique, because you can do this with any pattern, not just with this one. This is how the thumbnail looks there. That is the interfaced area that you can see there where I'm going to do an integrated facing. That means that's just folded in. Easy peasy. This is a side piece for the skirt. Here on this side of the front skirt, you're going to have a notch quite close to the edge there, and that is to do inseam pockets if you want. That is also a reference for this side piece right here, because you also find that type of notch there and there. So that means that this goes together here. This other one over here, this other angle here is going to be sewn onto the back skirt. This back skirt piece is cut from the same front piece. It's just that this one's on the fold over here. And here is where this is going to be sewn right there. Here on this side piece, you're going to have a notch down lower from the edge right there. And on the back, what I did to match those up was only mark the bottom notch of the pocket. You know, they cut from the same piece. So that is how this is going to go put together. It's going to be basically 4 super long seams to put this together. And then we're going to have the button placket in the center. What I'm going to sew now are these seams. So this piece with that piece right there, and then the 2 at the bottom, very long seams. One little piece I hadn't shown you is my waistband over here. It's just a long waistband, and I'm going to be using a 1.5 inch elastic. Now, before doing any main seams, I am going to be stay stitching the waist because it can stretch out, and this waistband should fit exactly onto the waistline of the skirt 1-to-1. It is wider, it's going to be pulled on over your hips, so there is going to be an elastic in here, but the waistband itself should fit the waistline perfectly 1-to-1. This is the front, this is the side over here, and I've got them pinned. You can see these 2 yellow marks. These are for sewing the inseam pockets if you're doing them, but it also helps you put this piece together so you don't get confused with this other side of the side, which only has 1 mark there. So I've pinned it all the way down. Now I'm just going to go ahead and sew it at 3/8, and after sewing it at 3/8 I'm going to serge the edges, and then I'm going to do the same with the other center and the other side piece, and then I can attach the back. So it's basically 4 very long seams. This can be a pretty quick and relaxing sew, nothing really hard going on here. Now that I've got the front and the side sewn, I can get this back and extend it over here. This is just one extended piece because it was cut on the fold. So this is what gets sewn together here on this side, and the same over here on this other side. So 2 more long seams, and then we're going to deal with the center front where I'm doing a real button placket, just because I want to. It's not part of the pattern. If you wanted this super easy, then your front could have been on the fold as well. My skirt looks a little messy, but all the seams have been sewn. Here are the centers where my button placket is going to go. I'm actually going to sort out the button placket and the hem before doing the waistband on the top. I have already pressed my hem up at the bottom by 3/4 of an inch. I have already pressed my button placket in the 2 layers that I'm going to fold them in. This is still going to be a pull-up skirt. I'm not going to need the buttons to get into the skirt from at the top, but it will help me regulate how much I open the buttons, how much I want the center front to be open or not. Here I have the center front of this skirt. This is a striped fabric, so sometimes that does help you. I was able to cut right along one of these stripes, so I know it's really straight and along the grain line. And here are my little pieces of interfacing. I was super careful to cut them out super straight and super accurately on my cutting mat with my rotary cutter. They are 1.25 inch wide, which is exactly how much I need to interface here. So now I'm just going to go ahead and fuse these on right along the edge, being careful. And then this edge of interfacing is actually going to help me fold in the integrated facing later. I don't need to mark it because the interfaced area is my guide. I'm just going to keep fusing this all the way down. And then at the back here I have the other side. I have to do the same. Then I'm going to align them, and then I'm going to put my pattern piece and cut them out. It's a type of modified block fusing so that the center front doesn't pull and shrink and end up shorter than your other piece. That's why if this center front is going to shrink and become shorter, it does it, and then I put my pattern piece, and then I get an even center front. Here you can see my skirt piece. It's quite long and all the center front is already interfaced. This is how I'm going to cut out my piece. My center front is already interfaced. Now I'm going to just trim away the excess and cut out my piece. This is my garment half constructed, and I'm at the stage where I'm going to actually work on this button placket. So you can see the interfaced area right there. It's 1¼ inches. I have folded in that first little bit by 1/4 inch. And then taking this interfaced area as a guide, I have done my second fold at 1 inch. So that's the width of my button placket right there. And that little fold in there just helps it stay super clean. Of course, I could have done without this fold. I could have serged the edge and it would have been acceptable too. But this is just taking it a notch further up. I think it looks really, really nice. So this is the area of the waist here. Going down to the bottom, I have the hem and I have already pressed my hem allowance up. So what I'm going to do to finish this is take this button placket and just fold it right here, right sides together. And I can see the memory crease. I'm going to sew right in there and then flip it to the other side. And that will give me a super neat finish at the bottom. I use this method to finish the bottom of blouses, blazers, jackets, skirts, all the things. So the seam allowance you use for this tiny area is always going to be your hem allowance, whatever you're using. There's a little seam. Now you can leave that there, but I usually cut most of this excess away, and I cut over here as well. And now I can flip, and the bottom is going to be super neat like that. The hem allowance is going to be behind this integrated facing. Now I'm going to go ahead and hand baste this down so it doesn't move anywhere. And I'm going to top stitch it. So I am going to have 1 stitch in this button placket. I'm going to try and do it with a grey thread right there in that area, so it actually won't be seen on the garment. Here is the integrated facing or placket, and I'm just going to top stitch it. This is the inside of the skirt. This is the outside. I'm going to sew right on the edge there with my grey thread, and it's going to pretty much blend into this fabric. No one's going to see it. This is the placket already top stitched. You can't even see it because the thread goes right in there. So that's all fixed. And remember, from this edge, I wanted to put my buttonholes 1/2 inch in. That's what was calculated in the paper when I did the modifications. So I'm going to measure that 1/2 inch. And it's right here. So basically, I'm going to be doing it on the edge of this white line right there. Up here, I'm going to have a waistband. That first buttonhole is going to be almost 1 inch down from the edge right there. And then from here down, I'm going to calculate 2½ inches. This is a friction pen. These marks are going to come off later. And this is where I'm going to do all my buttonholes and then sew all the buttons on by hand. This part of the buttonholes can take a while. I'm going to do quite a few of them, but it's what's going to give the skirt the special look that I want it to have. So it's my choice to do it, and I think it's totally worth the time it's going to take extra. Look at this gorgeous, gorgeous skirt. I consider this a neutral. You know, it's a stripe, but the colors, the gray and the white, are gonna go with any color top that I want. And then I can match the shoes and the bags, and it's just gonna go a long way. I decided to cut the waistband horizontally. It's just easier to cut and to sew it neatly. I wouldn't want to be matching vertical stripes here with the skirt. So that was a great option. Very neat. My elastic inside is very sturdy. It's non-roll. It's not going to fold and twist. So I haven't needed to top stitch this down. Other times when I've used elastics that aren't that amazing and flimsy and they fold, I have top stitched. All of these options are described in the pattern if you want to. I just left mine nice and loose and it's perfect. I always measure the length of the elastic against my waist and then take away 2 or 3 inches maybe, and that's enough to keep it snug but not digging in, and it's going to hold up my skirt. Here is the button placket, very beautiful. And here where the stripes distort is where you can see that the seam on the panel starts. This is where you could have an inseam pocket if you wanted. Put your hand in there. The pocket has a nice size. You could do it. You have a notch there and a notch there to guide you to do the inseam pocket if you want. Only I don't have one. And then it goes all the way down. I didn't feel that I needed to match these stripes because they're very narrow. If the stripes had been wider and more contrasting, I would have had to match them. And let me tell you how many hours I would have added to my project. At least 3 or 4 hours, because that's how long it takes me to cut each pattern piece on a single layer and match them and sew them and pin every single stripe when I'm sewing. Sometimes I'm in the right headspace and energy and I have the time available, but for these types of stripes that are narrower, don't even go there. Look, it looks perfect. You don't need to match them. At the back, that happens as well with the panel here. and it's just so gorgeous. Opens up to a beautiful volume at the bottom. I did my hem by machine this time. I thought the thread was really hidden in the fabric, so I wasn't really upset about doing it by machine and not by hand. And my buttons are 2.5 inches apart. I have 12 buttons and it's just gorgeous. I can open it up. This is the inside of my button plackets folded in. Beautiful. I just made one version this time. I know I'm gonna make it again, and it could be so much easier if you wanted. If you wanted the front and the back on the fold, then it would take no time at all to sew. You know, you could have added slits on this seam if you wanted. You could have done the center front with a slit. So many things you could have done. I just chose this and I think it's amazing. Thrilled with how it turned out. Let's see it on. I've styled it for you full waist. This is my gorgeous Free Spirit skirt from Pattern Emporium. I made a size 14. Sizing one size down is okay. I chose the longest version. The skirt can be so simple if you want it to be. I just decided to add a real button placket, but you could have cut that front on the fold and just had the front, the back the same plus the side panels. Or you could have done a center front seam without the real button placket. So gorgeous. I love the grey and white stripes here in this fabric. The top you see there is a Rise and Shine, which has an elastic casing hem. But if you fold it up, it sort of looks like you've tucked in your top. There's also inseam pockets that you can add on the front if you want. I never add those. Look at that waistband. It was so easy to sew, and I put the stripes horizontally, and there you can see my real button placket there. I love the panels of the skirt. You can really see them with the stripes. I separated my buttons by 2.5 inches, and I love having the buttons there that are functioning and real because I can regulate how much of the skirt I want open for whatever occasion I want. I think with a print you wouldn't be able to see them that much, so one of the reasons I chose the stripes, and also because classic and gorgeous. Love that I can wear this skirt with many types of tops and colors. Gray and white will literally go with any color, so I'm super happy with this make, and I'm very happy I tried this pattern. You might know that I'm into long skirts again, and I am so happy about that. I am just so silly. I didn't wear them for over 20 years for no good reason, just because, but now I am. Here is my Free Spirit skirt again, this time with a pop of color in a linen shirt. This is a refashion I did a few years ago. I've just got it tucked out so you can see how terrible that looks with a skirt with a bit of volume like this. So let's do a half tuck at the front. Much better. I love the pink sandals. What can I say? It's just such a fresh outfit. You wouldn't really believe I'm in winter over here, but I am. It's such a beautiful sunny day and my shrubs have flowers on them. Brazilian winter for you. I love this outfit. When you do a half tuck, you can see the detail of the waistband right there. The waistband is so comfortable. It's just enough to go over my hips and have elastic in there, but it's not extremely gathered. So I love that. It's functional, but it doesn't give you any extra bulk. Beautiful. Love the buttons as well. I love this outfit. The color is just amazing. Love the hot pink. The skirt has grey and white stripes, so I pulled out a white blouse that's a swing style, voluminous, and tucked out also looks terrible, so let's tuck that in where you can really see the waistband and where the waist hits on my body vertically, so much better look here. I've got silver leather accessories, which always goes great with these light tones, and you can really see the whole waistband here. The side panel seams as the stripes distort a little bit. I think that's very nice with stripes. And because the stripes are so little, I really wasn't concerned about matching those stripes. Win-win. If the stripes had been more contrasting, I would have had to match them, and then it wouldn't have been that easy. Here I've got a white cami tucked into my skirt and a grey denim shirt that's not too long, so it doesn't really interfere with the volume of the skirt. I love the grey shoes here. If you have the cami tucked in, I think that's okay because it shows where your body is underneath the shirt and where the waist is vertically. And this is one way I would semi-dress this up because it's still very casual, just with a light layer that you could use for when it's hot but a little cooler. So yeah, I love this. Love the grey tones with the white. Can't wait to wear this outfit out in real life. Absolutely love how this looks. Remember to grab your free spirit skirt when it's 50% off. It's an amazing deal. I'll leave you my link down below. I hope this was helpful and you enjoyed this. If you're not big on wearing skirts in your life, you're missing out. Maybe you should give them a go because they're just so amazing to wear on an everyday basis. I'm basically wearing a skirt every day and it's amazing. That's all from me. Have an amazing weekend and I'll see you again next week with more fun sewing here on this channel. Bye.